Hello, happiness seekers. My name is Klaudia. Welcome to the Happiness Challenge, where I test drive the best happiness hacks that science has on offer so that you can create more happiness at work, in relationships, and most importantly, in your own skin. In today's episode, I'm going to be talking about 6 coaching questions to help you to reflect on your happiness. And I guess, first of all, why is it worth asking these questions? I mean, life gets very hectic, very busy. We not necessarily have lots of time to be pausing and self reflecting. But studies actually show that self reflection is very important to our happiness because only by self reflecting and asking questions, we can gain insights into who we are, how we feel, what matters to us, where we want to be in the future. It's not surprising to see that those of us who are naturally more self reflective also report being happier. Because again, that moment of self reflection invites us to look deeper into our happiness and move towards a positive change. But before I share with you my 6 coaching questions, a few ideas on reflecting well, because self reflection really is not the same as rumination on dwelling on things or worrying about the future. So, first of all, whatever question you choose, always try to concentrate on one question at the time. This will keep your thought process focused and will help you avoid feeling confused and overwhelmed when arriving in a potentially very muddled conclusion of, oh, I'm actually not sure what I was even thinking about. Secondly, give yourself a time limit when reflecting. So, reflecting in quick bursts of time is very effective. So, one method could be spent around 5 minutes on specific question and create a mind map with potential answers. So, the idea is that you give yourself a time limit and you writing down the key insights to which you can come back at the later stage. And thirdly, if you think like, well, I don't really like journaling. It's not really me sitting down with a piece of paper and a pen and try to write some thoughts down. You can be self reflecting in a more active way. So, for example, you could choose a specific question and incorporate it into your yoga, meditation, exercise routine. You could be self reflecting on it when walking. You could be discussing that specific question with your family members or your loved ones. So, whatever you decide to do, that's okay in terms of that active component. But it's always very good to always come back and have some kind of record and write down some of the reflections you're having. So you can always come back to those insights. A little bit about my self reflective practice. First of all, I have created a journal for myself because I couldn't find something out there that was really suiting my needs. So it is a very much a calendar where you have one page for one day, and at the end of each day, I simply write down 3 things I'm very grateful for, a few wins or highlights for the day. I really love that practice because it really cements my positive memories. And I also try to reflect on one question, which could be about any aspect of my life. And these questions come from books I'm reading, podcasts I'm listening to. Sometimes they even cut out from magazines, like Happy Full magazine has a great reflective section. And I always found it so interesting. So it doesn't matter whether even the questions are similar to each other. It's always giving me a little bit of insight. I'm always learning something new about myself and my happiness. This may sound quite complex, but actually it takes 10 minutes before I go to bed, jotting down few answers, and it is really something positive, insightful, and a lovely way to finish a day. And at work, my reflective practice, which I again love very much doing, is on Fridays morning or afternoon, I try to write down 3 wins for the week for me and my team. I simply have a calendar invite in my Outlook calendar, and I just open it and I jot down three specific wins, because again, I find it really great to see the progress of the week, really understand what has been happening during very hectic schedule. So I also love that as a very simple few minutes of reflection at the end of the week. And then I always love chatting about different questions with my husband. Sometimes I share the questions I'm reflecting on to get his insights and his perspective on. And sometimes I pull a card of reflective questions. There is lots of interesting cards out there by School of Life or Huga cards. And it's just having a nice discussion over dinner. We recently had my teenage nephew staying with us, and he absolutely loved these cards. We spent one morning, like 3 hours over breakfast, debating different questions. So here we go, a little bit of hopefully an inspiration for you of what the self reflective practice could look like. Okay, so let's get into these questions. So I have 6 questions for you. The first 3 questions allow you to gain wider perspective on your happiness. They can be a catalyst for life changes because they allow you to identify the discrepancy between where you want to be in life and where you currently are, so that you can make any necessary choices and changes to get to the desired destination. And the idea behind those questions is to improve your overall life satisfaction. And the last 3 questions are helping you to reflect on moment to moment happiness. So they encourage you to prioritize positive experiences and focus on solutions in day to day life. So let's crack on. The first question is, when it comes to your happiness, what do you want to be true in 6 months' time that isn't true today? And of course, in that question, we can change the time frame. It can be 12 months or longer. But because I'm recording this episode halfway through the year, 6 months will mean that it will be the end of 2024. Very scary, but here we go. We're almost at the end of 2024. So, this question is very important to our life satisfaction because research shows that by thinking of our life in more extended time frame, we can connect with a possible tomorrow. And that very much inspires that higher level of meaning, motivation, and sense of direction. Generally, when people answer this question, they come up with new things they want to try, learn, complete. And that means that their happiness goes up because they are ultimately developing new skills. They'll build their confidence, they create new connections. And again, personally, I love this question because it always fuels me with lots of energy and motivation. Like, okay, great, there's all these exciting things on the horizon. The second question about long term happiness, which is fantastic to reflect on, is what impact do you want to make in line with your strengths? Again, studies show that by using our strengths, we can create more purpose in life and therefore more happiness. For example, when we are using our strengths, we can decrease low mood and depression. Employees who use their strengths at work are 6 times more effective and engaged, finding more meaning at work day to day. Parents who use their strengths are better at their emotional management, so they positively impacting well-being of their children. And university students who are asked to spend time on activities that utilize their strengths not only experience more meaning, but also show a reduction in loneliness and disconnection. So these are just a few examples of fascinating studies that confirm that understanding what are our strengths and using them to have the positive impact in the world really creates more meaning and life satisfaction. When we do that, when we use our strengths, when we utilize our strengths, we generally feel good about ourselves and our place in the world. And I really often think that, yay, this question really helps me to show up in the world in a positive way and give me this sense that, yes, I'm contributing something valuable to the world, to the places, to people that I'm with. And the third and final question to reflect on the long term happiness is what people in your life fuel you and in return are fueled by you. So the connections that we have with others are, of course, very important to our happiness. They're actually at the center of our happiness. Studies confirm that people with strong and diverse social connections are happier, healthier, and actually live longer. And that's because happiness is catching. There is lots of studies where researchers tracked people's well-being and their health for many, many, many years. And they found that all sorts of things that we wouldn't necessarily think about are very important to their overall well-being. And people around them, their social network, are absolutely crucial. So you are more likely to take up smoking if your friend of a friend of a friend takes up smoking. If everyone around you is blue and complaining and really negative, unsurprisingly, you will be also feeling quite negative and you'll be prone to complaining. So the connections around us are very important to our happiness. And in addition to that, Robin Dunbar, professor of evolutionary psychology at University of Oxford, showed that the single best predictor of our psychological health, our physical health, and our emotional well-being, and even again how long we're going to live is the number and the quality of close friends that we have around us. So this is why this question is so important, because it really helps us to understand which relationships fuel our happiness, and then it's really encouraging us to spending time or strengthening those right connections. And I especially love the second part of the question of how these people are fueled by me in return, because it really prevents us from taking our loved ones and friends for granted. It challenges us to think, what are we doing for our relationships? What quality time are we spending with people? How are we appreciating people around us? And what are we contributing to those important relationships? Okay, so now let's move to three questions that can help you to reflect on day to day or moment to moment happiness. The first question is, what activities, habits, and ordinary moments give you energy and joy? Because all of these positive activities, habits, simple, ordinary moments that we love, they acting like cues that help our nervous system to feel safe, calm, content. So it could be anything. It could be seeing a colorful sky. It could be eating a favorite cake. It could be spending time with loved ones. It could be listening to the favorite music. And that question can be really nicely extended in an exercise called an energy audit. I really love this exercise. So, for example, every Monday, take 10 minutes to reflect on the last week and identify the habits, activities, and ordinary moments that gave you the most energy. Really, really gave you that kick of positive energy, of joy. And at the end of the month, use this insight to think about how can you actively design your week to increase your energy and joy in life. Because understanding actually what brings us joy day to day has very interesting effect on our brain called the Tetris effect. That is, once we know what brings us happiness day to day, we tend to stop and appreciate those moments more often, and therefore we're experiencing more happiness in life. So we have this nice cycle of energy and joy. The second question worth answering when it comes to our day to day happiness is, how do you spend free time to learn, grow, and create more happiness actively. So, this is based on fantastic work by James Wallman. He's the author of Time and How to Spend It. In his book, he outlined vital research on positive experiences that lead to more happiness. And he very much encourages us to really think, how do we spend our free time to ensure that we are learning and growing? So let's take weekends, for example. Wallman distinguishes three approaches towards leisure time. We have a fly and flop, find and seek, and go and become. Fly and flop is about engaging in passive experiences that are very much well known to you. They might be relaxing, but they're not necessary changing you in a way, and you're definitely not learning. So it could be going for a meal in a favorite restaurant. It could be simply sitting in front of telly watching your favorite show. Then we have a find and seek that involves exploring new places and trying something unfamiliar. It could be a mini adventure that generate new stories. It could be that you are going on a walking tour around your city, or you're visiting a museum in your area. And the final one is go and become. And that very much offers a chance to learn new skills, meet new people, try something different. So it could be that you engage in learning how to paint, or you run a half a marathon with others to raise money for a good cause. And what the researchers suggested here is that since personal growth, development, and learning new skills are very much vital to happiness, actually the go and become brings the most joy to our lives. So at the end of very busy week, we can fly and flop in front of TV, we can find and seek and spend some time with a friend to play a sport, or we can go and become in a cooking class run by a new neighbor. And the last one, the last activity, takes the most effort, courage, organization, but actually results in the most amount of happiness. So, again, this question, how you spend your free time, is very important so that you can create holidays, weekends, breaks that truly fuels your happiness. And I personally love learning and exploring something new. So, this question is always fun for me to answer. And the third and the final question on reflecting on our moment to moment happiness is, how do you respond when you are unhappy? And how do you reset and recover to recenter? Because again, being happy does not necessarily mean we are not experiencing challenging emotions. We actually really should be accepting them, inviting them to our life, being with those moments of difficulties. Because when we're trying to avoid, suppress, or control difficult feelings, unfortunately, our mind spends much more longer to rethinking, to be reliving those specific events repeatedly. So, ironically, even though we're trying to suppress something that is difficult, thinking, okay, if I suppress it, then I'll be happier, long term, that actually means that we will be experiencing the challenging emotions for much longer. And that is why understanding how you react when you are unhappy and how can you reset and recover is so important. So, for example, for me, in addition to my classic to-do list with lots of different life admin, work things I need to do, I have my rest list. And on my rest list, I have lots of different activities that helps me to rest and recover. So this can vary from activities that are quite quick of recovery, like breathing exercises, having a sound healing break, to some more extended period of recovery, such as doing yoga, scrapbooking, having some nice bath with oils, having chats with my sisters. But I found that rest list really good because when I have a very hectic week, it's really important for me to understand when and how I'm going to recover. So it's almost like I have my really clear times of that self care, which is really important to me. And understanding that I have those moments is very important, for me also in the sense that I then don't get overwhelmed with lots of different aspects and external aspects that are happening in my life. So, thank you so much for listening. Just as a recap, we have 3 questions to reflect on your long term happiness. These are: when it comes to your happiness, what do you want to be true in 6 months' time that isn't true today? What impact do you want to make in line with your strengths? And what people in your life fuel you and in return are fueled by you? And the 3 questions that can help you to reflect on your moment to moment happiness are: what activities, habits, and ordinary moments give you energy and joy? How do you spend free time to learn, grow, and create actively more happiness? And how do you respond when you are unhappy? And how do you rest and recover to recenter and rebalance? So I hope this episode will inspire you to look more closely into your happiness and introduce a reflective practice into your well-being routine. I see you at the next episode, and I, as always, dare you to be happy. Bye.